Welcome to Tribal Tangent, the series where we cover the strength of a creature type in Magic the Gathering in 2020. A tribe is a creature type that multiple creatures share, like merfolk or humans. I'm Fallwood the Wood Elemental, and I'll be your host this video. I'll be judging the tribes in this format. Bread! Bombs. They're boss monsters, usually a 4/4 or greater, with an evasive ability, a planeswalker, or a card that allows for great card advantage. Tribal removal. Cards that remove stuff from the battlefield, like bouncing, destruction, exiling, etc. Evasion. Weaker creatures with evasive abilities, like flying, menace, intimidate, first strike, haste, and trample are some examples that allow the creature to dodge blockers. Aggression. Cards that just power up the creature type with specific effects that are neither evasive or bombs, like Lords. Dirt. Cards that are useless, even to their own deck, tribe, or playstyle. So for the first episode, we're doing Samurai, one of my favorite MTG tribes, aesthetically. Samurai come in white, black, red, and green. It seems to have great variety. However, just keep watching. And keep in mind that these are my own opinions and views on this tribe. If you disagree in any way, leave a comment. Let's start a healthy discussion or something. First up, the most important cards of any playstyle are the bombs. These are the cards that win you the game, either being a giant 4/4 with trample, flying, or whatever evasive ability, a powerful planeswalker, or a card that helps you gain great card advantage. So what do Samurai have? Samurai Enforcers is a 4/4 for 4 generic and 2 white mana, with Bushido 2. Whenever this creature blocks or becomes blocked, it gets +1/+1 for each point of Bushido it has until end of turn. It is the only Samurai that has at least 4 power and 4 toughness naturally. The strongest creature they have is a big, below average beatstick. A good 6-coster should be 6 power and 6 toughness at the very least. And by the looks of it, the Bushido ability basically gave Wizards of the Coast enough reason to make them weaker on average. Despite Bushido not being activated by fighting, spell targeting, bouncing, lightning bolt, Gideon's Reproach, do I need to say more? What I'm trying to say is that Bushido should not be put on nerfed creatures. It's supposed to be a bonus. Well, isn't that just an omen? If you don't want to run Samurai Enforcers, the second strongest Samurai you have are a 4/3 for 6 mana in Bushido 2, and a 3/4 double strike creature that must transform under specific conditions, and even then, it's very susceptible to removal afterwards. The strongest Samurai is a 4/4 for 6 mana. Hooray! Next up, removal. It can be a lot of things. A simple deal 3 damage to any target, creature destruction, bouncing or returning to the hand, creatures with flash for a surprise block and kill, or an instant that pumps your creatures so they can tank the attack. So by going with the last definition, let's look at Call to Glory. Call to Glory is an instant for 1 generic and 1 white mana with untap all creatures you control. Samurai you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Right away, we can see that it synergizes with the Samurai really well. Untapping them gets them ready to block, thus activating Bushido, and the boosting is always nice. We can see that they focus on blocking, which I think could be a very interesting playstyle to build around. The first card seems very promising. Then we get into Silverstorm Samurai, a 3/3 with Bushido 1 and Flash that costs 6 mana. 6 mana? Who are you gonna surprise with that? Is this a Silverstorm or a Thunderstorm? Here's a hit. It doesn't matter, cause they both suck at surprises. Oh, but it gets worse. Ronin Cliff Rider is a 2/2 for 5 mana with Bushido 1, and whenever Ronin Cliff Rider attacks, you may have it deal 1 damage to each creature defending player controls. Why 5? Did they not think that Samurai were weak enough as is? Did the Cliff Rider break his legs near the cliff he was defending and that's why it's a 2/2? Okay, next for removal is Takeno's Cavalry. It's a 1/1 for 4 mana, Bushido 1, and tap this creature, Takeno's Cavalry deals 1 damage to target attacking or blocking Spirit. Spirit! This was a mistake that Wizards let out of its cage. Ignore it and it'll hopefully go away and kill itself by challenging the wrong ghost to a fight. The weak stats and mana cost makes this the cardboard equivalent to expensive tissue paper, expensive and easy to tear, and the strict pinging ability makes this all the more useless unless you're fighting spirit tokens specifically. Heck, Rampaging Cyclops is better than this thing, because even when it's weakened, it's still a 2/4. And that's it for removal. Keep in mind that a lack of samurai themed or tribal themed removal doesn't make a tribe or playstyle bad by default. It just means that if you're gonna build a deck around this, you're gonna have to use the generic color support like the aforementioned Red Lightning Bolt and the White Gideon's Reproach. As it is, I think the removal lineup is tolerable at best. Next up is Evasion, creatures that have abilities that help them surpass blockers and or deal their damage to the opponent directly, like Flying, Menace, Intimidate, First Strike, Haste, and Trample. So what we got here? Araba Mothrider is a 1/1 with Flying and Bushido 1 for 1 generic and 1 white mana. A great card in my opinion actually. Here's what I meant when I said Bushido should be a bonus. A creature with 1 power and 1 toughness with Flying is standard for a 2-drop, and the Bushido cherry on top just makes it a bit above average in my opinion, making it so it can survive against other flying 1/1s. Bushy Tenderfoot is a 1/1 for 1 mana, with when a creature dealt damage by Bushy Tenderfoot this turn is put into a graveyard, flip Bushy Tenderfoot. You're gonna need a Giant Growth or Brute Force if you want this creature to survive any sort of battle, but its final form is nothing to scoff at. Kenzo the Hard-Hearted has 3 power, 4 toughness, double strike, and Bushido 2. For this transformation, a player needs at least 2 mana to summon and pump Bushy Tenderfoot, and Kenzo is arguably worth it. A great creature, I just wish it wasn't a transformation. Now we have Kicsune Blademaster, a 3-drop with 2 power, 2 toughness, Bushido 1, and First Strike. Not a bad creature at all. The Bushido 1 actually helps here because it makes it so that your opponent is less likely to block due to First Strike synergizing with Bushido, making a 3/3 First Striker when blocked. Anok Tracker is a 3/3 with First Strike itself, and it costs 6 mana. This is... wow. This guy's a Blade Master for a reason. Watch out, Tarkir, he's gonna rip out your appendix! Mothrider Samurai is a 2/2 with Flying and Bushido 1 for 4 mana. It's not the best. Average flying creatures are 3/3s for 4 mana. Still, you might want to run it due to the lack of anything good at 4 mana. We'll get into that later. Black and green have no Samurai with Evasion, so let's skip to the last card with Evasion in red! Ronin Houndmaster is a 2/2 with Haste and Bushido 1 for 3 mana. So simple yet so effective. It's an arguably weaker Kicsune Blademaster because it has Haste instead of First Strike, but not by much. Run this card if you can. And also, run away from her. They all have rabies, including her. We don't know how she got him. Just run. Now we get into more general territory with aggression and abilities. These cards are meant to help the Samurai playstyle, but have no evasion, aren't big creatures, or don't have removal abilities. So let's start this off with Devoted Retainer, a 1/1 for 1 white mana with Bushido 1. A great 1-drop with Bushido as a bonus. Nothing more to say, run this if you want a 1-drop. Hand of Honor is a 2/2 for 2 mana with Bushido 1 and Protection from Black. A good card as well if you have the mana fixing. Indebted Samurai is a 4-drop with 2 power and 3 toughness, Bushido 1, and whenever a samurai you control is put into a graveyard from play, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Indebted Samurai. Don't play this card. It's slow, weak, and doesn't synergize with the samurai playstyle because samurai don't synergize with the graveyard at all. However, if you really want to make this work because you're freaking crazy, there's a total of 1 samurai, 1 other samurai that synergizes with this card. But for the time being, this goes to the dirt pile. Interchamber Guard also belongs in the dirt pile. It's a bad 2-drop by itself, but what it does can be done with Tassel Dromedary as well, for 1 mana. A camel is better than you. A camel. Kentaro the Smiling Cat, however, is a great mana fixing card that makes all your samurai cost generic mana instead of colored mana. Play it if you can find one. Though, why is he called the Smiling Cat? Does he have a thing for cats? Kicsune Blademaster also belongs in the dirt pile, weak stats for 5 mana even with Bushido 1, and taps a piddly 1 creature when it enters the battlefield. Kanda, Lord of Iganho, is a 7-drop with 3 power, 3 toughness, vigilance, Bushido 5, and indestructible. What? It has pitiful stats for a 7-drop. Heck, Dustdale Worm is a 7/7 for 7 mana. A 7/7 should be the bare minimum for 7 mana! Being indestructible and having vigilance is nice, however, it doesn't mean much if you still only deal 3 damage when you deal damage to the opponent. Seriously, what's the point of this card? I guess it's meant to put pressure on your opponent since it can repeatedly attack and block, but it's such an extremely late game creature that you're most likely going to be dead before you have a chance to play it. Even if you get this expensive card out, it can still be exiled, bounced, etc., making it a waste of 7 mana. You may be a Lord Kanda, but you're the Lord of Dirt today. Konda's Hatamoto is a 1/2 for 2 mana with Bushido 1, and as long as you control a legendary samurai, Konda's Hatamoto gets +1/+2 and has vigilance. On its own, the Hatamoto has tolerable stats for a 2-drop and the legendary boost isn't bad. It's not good either, but run this if you plan to make a deck around legendary samurai, I guess. Nagao Bound by Honor is a 4-drop creature with 3 power, 3 toughness, Bushido 1, and whenever this creature attacks, samurai you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Sadly, this is the cheapest Lord creature they have. Lords are creatures that boost the respective creature type like Lord of Atlantis, Lord of the Undead, and Thirsting Bloodlord. These are great creatures that passively boost their comrades. Specifically, passively. But Nagao just has to be special and won't boost your samurai unless he's in the front lines with them. Admirable as a story, but horrible as a trading card. Sometimes I look at this and I think that he should boost whether he's attacking or blocking? It would go along with the samurai playstyle being a call to glory on a stick, and can further synergize with Bushido, but that's just a pipe dream at this point in time. Run this if you really, really want a samurai lord. Opalai Konda's Yomhiro, nailed it, is a 3-drop with 1 power, 4 toughness, defender, Bushido 1, and can tap to change the target of a damaging spell to itself. And you can pay 2 mana to prevent the next 1 point of damage that will be dealt to Opalai this turn. I don't know the exact reason why this card costs $3 a piece, but I do know it's good at what it does. Its skill set just doesn't belong in a samurai-based deck. Next, Samurai of the Pale Curtain is a 2/2 for 2 mana, Bushido 1, and exiles permanents when they're sent to the graveyard from the field. Run this as a sideboard card to help cover your bases on graveyard-based strategies if you wish. It's actually pretty good. Next up, our first and only Sensei. What? Sensei Golden Tail is a 2-drop for 1 generic, 1 white mana, with 2 power, 1 toughness, Bushido 1, and can tap with 2 mana to give Bushido 1 to other creatures and make them samurai in addition to their other creature types. Funny how the Sensei of Samurai doesn't synergize with them very well and instead devotes his life to training up others who wish to become samurai. Again, admirable as a story, horrible as a trading card. I feel like this might be a theme in this tangent. Takeno, Samurai General, is a 6-drop for 5 generic and 1 white mana, has 3 power, 3 toughness, Bushido 2, and each other samurai you control gets +1/+1 for each point of Bushido it has. If this was a 4-drop like Nagao, then this would be great, but as it stands, it's a 6-drop that can be killed by lightning bolt. What? If the general of the samurai is a measly 3/3 with high maintenance, then this army has low standards. Don't play him. Just don't. Man, I remember when I was back in high school reading about the historical record of one of the samurai that died because he tripped on a freaking rock. And now we get into the Black Samurai. First of all, don't play Cursed Ronin. If you do, the curse will pass on to you in the form of wasted mana. 4 mana for a 1/1 is not good in any capacity. Takeno's Cavalry, unless you want to get curb stomped repeatedly into the ground you swore to protect. Hand of Cruelty is a 2-drop for a 2/2 with Bushido 1 and protection from white. It's just a black Hand of Honor, and Hand of Honor is a good card, so this one is too by comparison. Kuro's Taken is a 2-drop with 1 power, 1 toughness, Bushido 1, and you can pay 2 mana to regenerate him. It's okay, not outstanding, not horrible, just mediocre. Run this if you have a thing for glowing rats. Nezumi Ronin is a waste of time going to the dirt pile. No wonder no lord would take you. You can be outdone by a freaking ogre. An ogre has more layers than you. And if you use the argument that this is an old card, I'm judging them by 2020 standards, current era and stuff. So by the current era standards, this rat should stay in the garbage. Numai Outcast is a 1/1 for 4 mana with Bushido 2, and you can pay 1 black mana plus 5 life to regenerate this creature. At least Sensei Golden Tail has a nice quote here. Don't play this unless you're being held at gunpoint. The last Black Samurai is Toshiro Umezawa, a 2/2 for 3 mana with Bushido 1, and whenever a creature an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from play, you may play target instant card in your graveyard. If that card will be put into a graveyard this turn, exile it instead. I don't know what to think of this. The ability is a bit good. Could even let you get out a Call to Glory a couple times, but as said earlier, Samurai mostly don't focus on the graveyard. Run this if you think you can make it work, cause it looks pretty interesting. Time to go into red. Now we get into a non-samurai human barbarian. Godo, Banded Warlord. A 6-drop with 3 power and 3 toughness. When Godo Banded Warlord enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an equipment card and put it onto the battlefield. If you do, shuffle your library. Whenever Godo attacks for the first time each turn, untap it and all samurai you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Wow, this'll synergize great for the 1 equipment card they have. At face value, it's a better Takeno, but Takeno isn't really hard to improve from. This doesn't really belong in a samurai deck. And Wizards of the Coast seem to agree. Godo was reprinted in Double Masters, and Double Masters had 0 samurai. However, the additional combat phase and mass untap are all pretty tempting. Play this if you think you can make it work, cause if you do, ooh boy, what a party. Speaking of equipment, let's deviate a bit and cover said equipment they have. Oathkeeper Takeno's Daisho is a legendary equipment artifact for 3 mana, with an equip cost of 2 mana and the following effects. The equipped creature gets +3/+1. Whenever equipped creature dies, return that card to the battlefield under your control if it's a samurai card. And when Oathkeeper Takeno's Daisho is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, exile equipped creature. It's a double-edged sword. It can be a pain for the opponent when it keeps reviving the samurai it's equipped to, but 1 artifact removal card can reduce this strategy to dust and waste all the mana you spent casting and equipping this card. I'm having trouble pinning down whether this is worth playing. Run by preference. Now back to the red samurai. Battle Mad Ronin is a 2-drop with 1 power, 1 toughness, Bushido 2, and must attack each turn if able. I'd say that this is good, due to the fact that players would rather take 1 damage than chump block a 3/3 in the early game. Battle Mad Ronin is a good aggressive card to play, but dude, how do you accidentally kill your captain when all you use are melee weapons? Brothers Yamazaki is a 3-drop with 2 power, 1 toughness, Bushido 1, and if there are exactly 2 permanents named Brothers Yamazaki on the battlefield, the legend rule doesn't apply to them. Each other creature named Brothers Yamazaki gets +2/+2 and has haste. For those of you wondering about the legend rule, it currently, as of 2020, means that a player can only control 1 copy of a legendary creature at a time. This applies to each player separately. For example, both players can control 1 copy of Squeak Goblin Nabob, but no single player can control 2 copies of Squeak Goblin Kebab. However, a single player can control 1 Squeak Goblin Bob and 1 Squee the Immortal at the same time. So upon this explanation, the brothers feel more like a gimmick card than an actual samurai card. Run this if you have big balls. Fumiko the Lowblood is a 4-drop with 3 power, 2 toughness, and Fumiko the Lowblood has Bushido X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. Whenever this creature blocks or becomes blocked, it gets +X until end of turn. Creatures your opponents control attack each combat if able. This really feels like a samurai card. It makes your opponent's creatures attack continuously, thus playing off Bushido of your blocking creatures. It also clears the way for your creatures to attack directly safely. Just make sure you don't bite off more than you can chew with this card. Remember when I said Indebted Samurai synergizes with one other samurai? Well, here he is! Izuka the Ruthless is a 5-drop with 3 power, 3 toughness, Bushido 2, and you can pay 3 mana and sacrifice a samurai. Samurai you control gain double strike until end of turn. The mass double strike sounds nice, but the feeble body housing this effect and needing to sacrifice a samurai makes this a little bit less tempting. It's not bad, but it feels like it can be better. Run this if you really want a combo with Indebted Samurai, you wacko. You think Izuka sacrificed a burrow to pop off the effect? Ronin Cavekeeper is a 6-drop with 4 power, 3 toughness, and Bushido 2. It's just the worst samurai enforcers. It doesn't even have haste. It feels like it should have haste. Run this if you're a believer that samurai enforcers weren't bad enough. This is what happens when you fight in the caves for your entire life. How many cards do we have left? 3? Alright, home stretch! Sokenzan Renegade is a 3-drop with 3 power, 3 toughness, Bushido 1. Whoa! Whoa, this actually looks pretty good! And at the beginning of your upkeep, if a player has more cards in hand than each other player, the player who has the most cards in hand gains control of Sokenzan Renegade? Hold up, what? You couldn't leave it at being a 3-3 with Bushido 1 for 3 mana? You just had to give it one of the most insane drawbacks I've seen in my life? Are we back in Mercadian Masks? Arguably the worst set with the worst cards in Magic. Where when you play stuff, you give your opponent free stuff as well. I'm looking at you, Charmed Griffin, Enslaved Horror, Hired Giant, and Endangered Djinn.
Discord, I found Wampus!
Don't play Sokenzan Renegade unless you're playing a group hug commander deck. That's it, dirt pile with you. Sokenzan Spellblade is a 5-drop with 2 power, 3 toughness, Bushido 1, and you can pay 2 mana. Sokenzan Spellblade gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your hand. Again with the hand? Why are all these samurai interested in your hand size all of a sudden? There are no tribal ways of drawing cards, and even then, red is not the best with drawing cards. Their best draw spells are Tormenting Voice and Cathartic Reunion, which also makes you discard in a way that doesn't change your hand size, so why are these samurai red? These would make excellent blue samurai. Blue's all about drawing cards. Why didn't you make them blue? Are you scared of scaring the whole 4 ninjas in blue? You didn't want to creep on their territory. Don't play Sokenzan Renegade, Spellblade, whatever. Renegade and Spellblade both suck. Just when you look at them, burn them, you'll be doing the entire world a favor. Last Samurai, oh my gosh. And the only green samurai, Isao. Enlightened Bushi is a 3-drop with 2 power, 1 toughness, Bushido 2. This spell cannot be countered. Oh, that's pretty nice. And you can pay 2 mana to regenerate target samurai. It's a good card, actually. It can give your samurai protection with the archetypal regenerate ability, but since it's the only green samurai, you're gonna have to find a way to splash it in with mana fixing. Run by preference. Now we go on to the last stage, Dirt. Cards that are just bad and don't fit with the playstyle. So let's go over some cards I put into the dirt pile and see if we can fix the flaws of the samurai. Takano's Cavalry for 1. Make it 2 mana instead, not that hard. The fact that it's so expensive is why it sucks, along with many other samurai. Takano doesn't deserve to be a 6-coster, he should be 5 mana at most. Kitsune Dawnblade should cost 4 as well. And Konda, Lord of Iganho, has too many points in Bushido. I know that sounds weird, being their personalized mechanic, However, creatures with Bushido are naturally weaker than those in the same mana cost. Remember what I said about Dustdale Worm, it being a 7/7 for 7 mana as well? Or how Interchamber Guard is a natural 0/2 for 2 mana? Bushido is really unique, however it's not powerful. It should be a bonus, a reward for playing Samurai, not the rickety old crutch it's treated as. Make the creatures naturally powerful on average, then put the Bushido cherry on top. Bushido is not a good replacement for permanent stats. Now to the grades. Bombs. Samurai Enforcers are their strongest creature, and a 4/4 for 6 mana is a ripoff. D. Tribal Removal. Call to Glory is their best card for tribal removal, and it synergizes with the playstyle really well. However, it's one of their only good removal cards. C. Evasion. There's a healthy amount of evasive creatures here. Araba Mothrider, Ronin Houndmaster, and Kicsune Dawnblade. Not the Dawnblade, you get out of here. Get out of here. Ah, there you are. Kicsune Blademaster. Are just great creatures in general. B. Aggression abilities. A lot of trash and treasure here, however there's a good number of tribal treasure to utilize. C. Dirt. I know these cards are supposed to be bad, but holy frick, have you seen Takano's Cavalry, Numai Outcast, and Sokenzan Renegade? F. Failing grade. Here's my attempt at a modern legal budget samurai deck. Decided to go for a more aggro strategy since they lack good bombs. Infuriate and Brute Force can boost the Tenderfoot to transform it into Kenzo, and Lightning Bolt and Shock are just good removal cards in general. And there we have it, the first episode of Tribal Tangent down. So what did we learn? Samurai are kinda sad. At first glance, the samurai of Kamigawa look proud and powerful, but their weapons are more sticks than blades. With an ability that served as a fragile replacement to permanent stats, no wonder the more fun and sneakier ninjas were one of the few reprinted and expanded upon cards from Kamigawa. And with that, I say thank you for watching my opinion. See ya! Is what I would say if I didn't hear the rumors. What rumors, you might be thinking? Kamigawa. Neon Dynasty. We're finally going back to Kamigawa, boys! Kamigawa 2020! Let's hope that the samurai get the cards they deserve. Yeah!